Okay, it is now 9 o'clock Pacific time. We're going to go ahead and start our next presentation. Just a couple of reminders as you join us. If you could make sure your cameras are off and that you're muted, it'll just help us be able to stream more clear to everybody. But our next presentation is Tilanka Chandrasekera, and he's going to present to us on the intersection of AI and creativity. Can AI facilitate early design processes? So I think this is a great follow-up to what we just heard from Ted. So a little bit about Tilanka. Tilanka is an associate professor in the Department of Design and Merchandising at Oklahoma State University in Stillwater, Oklahoma. He's the interior design program coordinator, the director of the Mixed Reality Lab, and holds the Christine Salmon Professorship at OSU. He has a bachelor's and master's degrees in architecture from Sri Lanka and a PhD from the Department of Architectural Studies, the University of Missouri-Columbia. Tilanka is a trained architect and has worked on projects ranging from multi-story apartment complexes to zoos and wildlife parks. So Tilanka, we will let you take it from here.
Right. Thank you so much, Heidi. Happy Friday the 13th, everyone. What a better day to talk about AI. It's scary stuff. Not because your job might be lost to AI, but to someone who knows about AI, right? So that's where I was thinking when I was talking about this particular subject. That's where my mind went to. And as an educator, we want to prepare our students, right? So that's where the study that I'm going to talk about today comes into play. So let me share my screen really quick. Heidi, we good?
Yes, I see your screen. Go ahead.
Deal. So at Oklahoma State, I run a lab called Mixed Reality Lab. We focus on visualization, especially focusing in virtual reality, augmented reality, motion capture, 3D printing, and such. So we work with a lot of kids, middle school kids. We use, obviously, for the lab for our students, our interior design students, and our faculty work on research projects using the lab's resources as well. We work with psychophysiological tools to understand how people perceive environments using heart rate monitoring, skin conductance, FNIRS to understand the brain's oxygenation levels, to measure cognitive load and such. So we do several different projects using the lab's resources. And as you heard from Ted's discussion, there are a lot of tools out there, ChatGPT, Midjourney, Maquette, Runway Mail, and so on and so forth. And these tools provide you with different options of using artificial intelligence. My question was basically, how can we use it? Now, there are a lot of discussions on how these tools are being used by different professions, but how can we use it? How can we, as designers, use it in our design processes? How can we use it to help our students? So the main question is, what are the implications to designers when we use these types of different AI tools, artificial intelligence tools? So as a researcher, my mind kind of went there. And the first thing that we do is when we have a question, we ask our questions from educators, we ask questions from designers like yourselves, and we then ask questions from our students to see if we can use these tools in productive ways. So the first thing that we did was we asked this question from design schools in the US. So I sent an email to CIDA accredited design schools, Council for Interior Design and accredited design schools in the US. And we asked questions like, are you aware of artificial intelligence? First question. And most of them, as you can see, they were aware of artificial intelligence. And then we asked, are there courses in your department that uses artificial intelligence? And as you can see, most of them did not have any classes or courses that focused on the use of AI in design education. But there was some. That was interesting. Like there was like this survey was conducted earlier this semester. So there were a couple of courses and educators that have used AI in their design educational classes. And that was a question, I think, that was presented when in Ted's discussion as well. And there are classes that use AI. including mine, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Do you or your program use any generative AI applications? So most, even though they haven't used it in classes, most of them said, like you can see about 50% of them had said yes, they do use AI applications in their programs in different ways. And then we asked, do you envision using AI in the future? And as you can see, an outstanding majority said that they do see the use of AI in the future in their programs. Then the next step was to ask design professionals. Right? So I'm from Oklahoma. I'm in Stillwater, Oklahoma. So most of our students intern and work in Oklahoma and Texas. So I reached out to design firms there. About 60 design firms responded to this survey, and I asked them, like, are you all using generative AI in your design processes? So the first question was, do you or your company use any generative AI like Midjourney, ChatGPT, and such, like Ted showed us previously? Some of them do use them. As you can see, about 30% have used them in their work. Then the second question was, do you foresee that your company might use generative AI applications or platforms for design purposes in the future? So as you can see, even though most of them haven't used it, like only 30% have used it, about 70% said that they foresee using it in the future in their design processes. So one of the things that Ted mentioned was this issue of ethical issues, copyright issues that come into play when we talk about AI, because someone asked this question, like, what happens to pictures when we upload it to Midjourney and such? It goes into their service, like anything on the internet, whatever you put out there, it's there for perpetuity, right? So these are issues that design firms are trying to figure out right now. So I asked the question, like, do you have formalized strategies or policies in place for incorporating artificial intelligence into your design workflows? And this came through discussions during the summer, because I'm the internship coordinator for our program. So I go into different design firms where our students work, and I have these types of discussions with them. And some of the firms, they were developing their own in-house AI to mitigate these issues, like copyright and such. And we had a presenter, because we have a broader discussion of AI and design in our school, and we have presenters presenting about AI and their work in AI. So we had a presenter yesterday from Foster and Partners in London. They were talking about their own in-house R&D workflows of developing AI for in-house design projects. So different companies have their own policies in place. So majority said no formalized strategies are in place right now. Some of them said there are certain strategies that are being considered, but the very few said that there are existing strategies. For example, not using ChatGPT for projects, not using Midjourney for projects, because it's proprietary information that you're uploading onto the web, right? So you don't want to do that. So they do have, some of the companies, very few though, have existing strategies and policies in place. So I thought these things were interesting. These are interesting when we make our own decisions on using AI. So having said all that, I want to also look at how we can use AI in different parts in the design process, right? So we start with the schematic design process, schematic design stage, design development, construction documentation, and then move into the construction stage of a project. So in the schematic design stage, you have the concept generation. How can we use this? And as Ted showed earlier, we can easily use this for concept generation using Midjourney, using ChatGPT to develop concept statements, and then developing conceptual imagery using ChatGPT. Midjourney. But now ChatGPT also has embedded DALL-E, so you can actually use ChatGPT for image generation as well. Then you can create virtual walkthroughs using AI, and there are different applications out there that uses that right now. So you can just give a prompt and it creates a virtual walkthrough of a space. You can walk through an actual space and discuss like collision detections and such. So you can do real-time simulations with these. Then in the construction stage, you can go into quality control, like understanding how the environment was built. So in our educational arena, if you will, educational environment, I wanted to look at how we can use AI for concept generation, because that's something that I found that students really have a hard time grappling, like understanding the whole thing about like how to generate a concept. So I wanted to see if this can be a way, AI can be a way to help students understand the use of concepts. So once they develop something, and this was again a question that came up in the discussion after Ted's presentation, how do we assess creativity? So there are many ways of assessing creativity, and that's what I want to do. Like, what if we use AI for concept generation? Can we assess the creativity in that process? If so, what would that look like? So we wanted to develop a research study on this, revolving around this. So we had 40 participants, students, early design students, interior design students, really. We divided them into 2 groups and gave them 2 design tasks. So the first design task, one group used AI to develop their concept. The second group did not. In the second design task, no groups had not any of the groups didn't use AI. So then afterwards, we assessed the creativity of the process, the creativity of the product, as once they completed the design project. There's a question. So there was a question about entropy and process. I'll come to that, why we use entropy to assess the creative process towards the end. So AI, so these were the 2 design tasks. The 2 design tasks were related to furniture design and a piece of furniture design, an urban piece of furniture. So there were several measurements that we took. So cognitive load, we assessed cognitive load using the NASA TLX question. And there are many ways to assess cognitive load, and cognitive load measurements are a standard when you develop educational methodology. So we use that to understand how the cognitive load affected the whole process using the NASA TLX questionnaire. It's a standard questionnaire. And then we use protocol analysis. And that's where the whole entropy idea comes through. So if you want to delve into more of the protocol analysis, I would highly recommend Gabriela Goldschmidt's studies on protocol analysis, and specifically going into linkography, where they measure entropy. In this case, entropy, I mean, in any case, entropy is about information, like understanding amount of information. So the more information, the more productive the design process is. And that's where the whole idea of calculating entropy comes into play. And I can talk about protocol analysis if you want to in depth as well. Protocol analysis is what I generally do. It was the topic of my PhD thesis as well. So I can professionally speak about protocol analysis if you would want me to do so. But in the interest of time, I'm going to move forward. Design outcome evaluations. Design outcome evaluations, we often do this like using design reviews and such. So we use the creative semantic scale to evaluate the design outcomes using. This is wrong, because we use actually 3 design professionals, not just 2. So in the first design task, this is one example. They used ChatGPT to develop. They used ChatGPT to develop a concept statement. They used Midjourney to develop a conceptual imagery, and then sketched out their final design product using sketching. And they were able to use either sketching, or they could use SketchUp to sketch these out. So they were able to do whatever they wanted to. And then the second design task and the second design statement, or the concept statement. In the first design task, they used AI. The second design task, they did not use AI. This was the AI assisted design group. The second one, it was a non-AI assisted group. where the first design task didn't use AI, the second design task didn't use AI, and then they came up with a concept statement for both, and then conceptual imagery using sketching, or they were able to also use SketchUp if they wanted to. And some folks did want to use those. Some students did want to use SketchUp to sketch their ideas of. So the NASA TLX questionnaires suggested that the cognitive load in group one's task one was the lowest, obviously, because they didn't have to think much. They obviously used the AI tools to generate the designs. They didn't think much. They just typed in a prompt and they got the solution. So group one's task one was the lowest. Group two's task one was the highest because they had to think about the project. They didn't know about the project. They had to read it, and then they had to come up with a design concept. So group two's task one, which was a non-AI assisted group, was the highest. Interestingly, group one's task two was lower than group two's task two because they had a learning effect from the task one, and they didn't use AI for the task two. So as you can see, cognitive load reduces, and there is an amount of learning here happening as well, we assume. Then we assess the final product using 3 reviewers or designers, professional designers. We had 40 design outcomes. So and there were 40 students and 80 design outcomes. We assessed all 80 using these 3 reviewers, using the Creative Product Semantic Scale, which is a standard scale to review product creativity, which has things like novelty, resolution, elaboration, and so on and so forth. And then the averages suggested that the creativity in group 1 was higher in both task 1 and task 2 than in group 2, which is interesting because it was the group that used AI in the beginning. So assessing creativity in the process. So creativity can be assessed in 3 ways, right? So you can assess the creativity of the person by using different tools that's already available. You can assess the creativity of the product using protocol analysis. As you can see, what we used was Think Aloud protocol with linkography. We break down the process into smaller segments, and then we calculate the entropy levels using linkography in this process. And the premises are where when the entropy is higher, the productivity is higher. So that's and it's a standard method of calculating entropy and calculating or understanding creativity in the design process that have been used by people like Gabriela Goldschmidt, who's a proponent of using protocol analysis. And it's important to understand the entire process rather than just a smaller segment, because especially in this day and age where we're using AI, right? How can we assess the creative product? If someone provides you with an image of the final product, can you assess the creativity of that final product? So especially because of that, we wanted to use protocol analysis to understand the creativity in the entire process rather than just one part of it, like the final aspect of it. So this also suggested that the entropy levels were high in the AI group second task than the non-AI group. So cognitive load was, the conclusion of the study is that cognitive load was significantly less in the second task of the AI group than the second task of the non-AI group, suggesting there was a learning happening there from AI. So it's like the reverse process of AI, because AI, we train AI using existing knowledge, right? And here we're using AI to kind of teach our students, if you will, in a certain way, not exactly the same way that we would teach, but in a certain way, it is like the reverse process of creating AI. Creativity of the final product of the second task of the AI group was significantly higher than the second task of the non-AI group, which is also an important finding of this research project. Creativity of the design process of the second task of the AI group was significantly higher than the second task of the non-AI group. So that was through protocol analysis that we found that out. So this is all good. We found this is empirical evidence that we found that AI does, in fact, has the potential of helping in the creative design process, with especially focusing on design education. But what are some of the concerns that we have about generative AI models in creative design? And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. When you ask Midjourney to create a cat, this is what you get. When you ask AI to create a cat in the style of Van Gogh, this is what you get. When you ask AI to create a cat in the style of anime, this is what you get. These are all based on existing knowledge, right? So AI is trained on existing knowledge. They can't really create new things. So they mash things up to create something that is perceived as new. It's not necessarily new. They mash something up to create something that can be perceived as new. So it is not a new thing. So is this something that we want our students to learn? If it's not new, is it valid? Is that what we want to teach our kids? Because we want to teach our kids to be more creative. So using AI, would that hinder that creative ability? Because it's not really creating something new. It's just mashing something up that's already existing, right? We use this in our day-to-day lives as designers. I'm an architect by profession. I've designed in my previous life. I've designed a lot. And you are familiar with Calatrava's Oculus. His concept was a bird taking flight from a child's hand. The same kind of prompt I inputted into Midjourney. So I said, give me a design that's inspired by a bird's flight and wings. So these are all metaphors, right? So you can easily use a metaphor for creating a visual of a building that you want to design. These have similarities. I'm not saying both of these are same, but you can see there are similarities in these two design ideas. But what if we look at things like the Falling Waters by Frank Lloyd Wright, right? Which is very in the realm of contextual design. If we ask AI to design something, a building or a house near a waterfall, would it give us something similar to Falling Waters? It might now, because it already knows about Falling Waters. So there might be certain ways that AI understands this concept and then generate images like this. But the premise of Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture is that what he says is a house should be off the hill and not on the hill, right? So would AI understand that premise, like this whole contextual idea? Would AI know how to move a beam around a tree, which sounds ridiculous when you think about like the money that you would spend to do this? But would AI know how to do it? Right, that's the question. So what are the ways that we can mitigate these issues of AI using existing knowledge to create in creativity or in design? So one of the things that I'm kind of experimenting with my students is at least is to going back to the basics of design, right? So looking at elements of design, principles of design, gestalt theories and such. How can we use these basics of design to create prompts? And prompts are important, and people have come up with different prompting ways to create different prompts. And this is one that I stole from the internet, from Twitter, actually. This is a standard prompting method. So if you add information to all of these sections, you can create a good enough prompt to generate an architectural image. That's at least according to Nick St. Pierre, that's what he says. So if we wanted to create a design prompt, can we use these basics of design? Right, that's a question, and that's what I'm trying to do right now, so that we come up with something creative instead of using metaphors for concept development and prompt engineering. So to finish off, I think I'm almost at the end of my presentation. I think computers are incredibly fast, accurate, and also really stupid. Humans are incredibly slow, accurate, and brilliant. And together they're powerful beyond imagination. So to follow up with what I start with, should we be afraid of AI? I don't think so. We should be afraid of people who know how to use AI, right? So as designers, that's what we need to do. We need to educate ourselves. We need to educate our students about the use of AI, because as Ted mentioned previously, there's no escape from this. It's going to be here. You can't ban AI. I don't think so. I don't at least I don't think so. I might be wrong. But I don't think you can ban AI. So I think understanding the potential of AI, using AI in our design workflows, learning about AI, teaching our students about AI. I think that's the path forward. I didn't say this, obviously. Student G. Walsh mentioned this. So, anyways, that's the conclusion to my presentation. Thank you so much. My name is Tilanka Chandrasekera, and you can reach me at this email address if you do have questions. Tilanka at OK. There's an S missing there. I don't know how that happened. It's Tilanka at okstate.edu. Thank you.
Hey, wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Tilanka. Let me go ahead and reshare my screen. It also has his name and information on there. So great presentation. We do have 1 or 2 minutes before our next one technically starts if someone has a quick question that they want to ask him. Otherwise, our next presentation starts in 4 minutes.
So Roberto had a question about entropy and the design process. Thermodynamic quantity represented unavailability of systems, thermal energy. So you're looking at the thermal side of things. It's entropy. Shannon's entropy deals with it comes from mathematics. So Shannon's entropy it talks about information, and it's a concept that uses in information sciences a lot. And there have been a lot of studies, especially with Giro. If you look up Giro studies on creativity, design, and design processes, and using linkography and entropy to understand the creativity in the design process, you'll find a lot of information about the use of entropy in the design process. It uses, like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's 100% accurate, but it uses the information in the design process to kind of quantify the productivity in the design process, which is referred to by Jiro and others as the creativity in the design process. So they kind of use it in that context.
Getting lots of thank yous, great ideas on the rubric in there, which I always tell people I think rubrics are sexy because I think there's nothing more sexy than knowing exactly what you need to do to succeed. So very well done. Thank you so much, Tilanka.
Thank you, folks. Bye.
All right, for those still here, you've got a 2-minute break. You can use the restroom. Our next presentation will start in 2 minutes.